Good evening, everyone. As you may know, uh, this show that I produce here weekly is sort of a creative outlet for me. All right, I finished college where I had to create things, and it was very easy for me to do so. But I wanted to continue, doing these sorts of videos, and the idea for the show really came from one of our writers on the show here, Odin Trella, my father. He sort of encouraged me to just sort of put something out once a week. Um, and, in a sense, like it would force me to get away from my perfectionism, because that is something that has stopped me in the past from doing a project. Like I just won't do a project because I'm not going to be able to do it the way I want to. Now I'm not going to say it's perfect because I mean look at what I've made, but I just wanted to challenge myself to go through and make something, anything really. And I put a lot of references in these videos and things, and it just sort of goes with my general outlook as a creator. Um, I hold my audience very highly. Okay, and I don't have a very large audience at all, obviously, and most of it is friends and family. I think there might be one person or like a couple people who I do not know that watch my videos. Like I think that's where I'm at. And I mean that's great. I would love eventually to hit a point where most of the people who watch my videos are people I don't know personally, but you know, maybe we'll get there at some point. My point is I hold my audience very highly, and I don't like to spoon feed them with things. I like to sort of make content that is like just a normal, person watching it will probably enjoy it. And there are Easter eggs and references and things that if you know where they're from, you will like it even more. And I've sort of been doing this the whole time, to be honest, like since I started making videos, like geez, I don't even know, 15 years ago, like when I was making Minecraft videos and stuff, and like I would put references into my City of Heroes, like heroes, and it's like, who's gonna get that reference? Like, my dad didn't even watch those videos. Like, even the people who played City of Heroes with me way back then probably wouldn't have even recognized, like that's who the reference is to, whatever. Don't worry about that sentence. And yet, I'd still just put it in there, for myself, because I like it, and I think if I had, the dream is eventually to have a fan like me, basically, because the thing is, like, I'm like that, like when I really like someone, like a YouTuber or something, I will go back and I'll watch like everything they've ever done, and I'll catch on to like Easter eggs and stuff that probably not a lot of people realize. And that's sort of what I wanted to create. I wanted to create, content that has the potential for a like super fan to be able to be like, wait, this is a reference to his college YouTube channel. You know what I mean? So like not even everything is references to Content Dispenser. There's some stuff that's older. There's some stuff that's not even my work that I like will reference other things, and you just sort of have to know, where it comes from. But this episode, this last episode 35 that I uploaded, some people who watched it, they were sort of like unsatisfied with the context that I supplied within the episode to explain the story of what's going on, okay? So there were some people who, in layman's terms, didn't get it, and that might sound harsh, like that I'm saying that about the audience, and maybe you could flip that around and say, well, as a you know, writer, I guess it's mostly improv, but as the writer, you know, like I didn't do a good enough job explaining the story. So, you know, and this is the only time I'm ever gonna do that, but for this, I'm going to go through and basically do like a director's commentary and just explain the entire, every single reference and joke in the episode. And so this is your warning, because this will likely, this is the epitome of explaining the joke makes it not funny anymore. So if you enjoyed episode 35 and you don't want to have me exhaust myself going through lecturing every single, you know, thing that happened in it, then do not watch this episode of
Keep your expectations low, I'll keep your spirits high. I don't have a lot of time, but what I got is fine. If you watch for a second, I'll tell you a joke. If you stay for a while, I might even smoke. Might not be as good as what I did before, but here we are now, it's the Comfort Time Show.
Alright, so here we go. My playlists for Content DiSpenser. I could talk about that even, just having playlists, but let's save it for the episode. This is going to be a long one too, by the way. I know you guys love that. Alright, so Cut for Time playlist. Here we go, episode 35. Weekly variety show, much worse than early show, yet sometimes better. And it auto-plays. YouTube loves auto-playing stuff, so that already ruins it. I'm going to go back, because I would have already paused it here, just from the, you hear that opening, the organ. So, and I explained this, there was some confusion about the song, and I probably would have explained the song a bit more if the credits worked, and this is a reference, I'm assuming that you've at least seen episode 35 in its entirety, so I'm not gonna, whatever, but as you know, the credits, didn't work. It wouldn't let me, the exact issue, which I'll probably get to when we get to the credits, the exact issue I was having is, like, I couldn't, when you, I edit these episodes, every episode of Cut for Time has been edited in, using iMovie. I think it's all been iMovie except for the few episodes that I specify I had to use Clipchamp for because I was on vacation. I didn't have my editing laptop. I just had my Epic laptop. Yes, I have two. I have an Epic one, and then I have a, like, Apple one that's, I just use for editing, basically. And as opposed to Premiere, which I use to edit, like, good videos. So I think every episode of Cut for Time I use iMovie for. Anyway, iMovie has this credit scroll, preset text overlay that I use for the credits that you guys know. And normally you put that in and there's like pre-written credits there. And I go in and it's like a format, so I just go in and I delete what they wrote and then write in my credits and then it works fine. But for some reason, for this episode and this episode only, I put that preset in and then I selected everything and went to delete it, and for some reason it wouldn't let me delete the top line, which just says credits. Like it has like a credits in the middle, and I always delete it so you guys wouldn't even know it's there. And I didn't want credits, like it's not like, oh, credits, but because it would show up during the, over the logo, and that's like one of my things when I edit, is I want the logo to fade out before any words hit the logo. That's just sort of me editing. That's how I determine the length of how long you stare at the Cut for Time logo, is it's however long the credits are, it's right before the first name would hit the logo. That's when it should fade out into the starry background. Anyway, so if I was able to write out the credits normally, I probably would have put in there like the song, original Captain Owl theme by Content DiSpenser, but I just didn't, with the credits the way they were, I just try to get everything. I was just mad when I made the credits, so I didn't put that in there. But yes, to answer, this is one of the things they were confused by. That is not a stock music. I wrote that song. I have a songwriting application on my Epic laptop. It's a like you can write sheet music and you can make like concert arrangements like with multiple instruments and stuff. And actually, that's how I make the theme song, which you will hear in a second. Like the theme music for Cut for Time and the slowed down Beyond the Sea song that I used in that one episode where I interviewed the dog. That was like supposed to be like Superman. That one I wrote using the same application. Early show I made in GarageBand. But the point is the playback, like preview instrument, actually sounds like decent. Like this organ, like sounds decent. So I just use this and I just screen record the the preview of the song that it plays in the application, and there you go. Like the application, like it's not even supposed to be used for recording, music. It's supposed to be for writing sheet music that you would then play with an instrument. But I just like it works. It works for me. It sounds good. Now I will take now up to this point you can have believed that I just wrote this on my own and I would accept that. But point is, I actually cannot write original music. I have like a weird thing. I can't write original music. I've written a few original songs, and they're like so bad and incredibly derivative. I can write lyrics okay. All right, I can write. Actually, I think my issue is I write lyrics that are too good, and it's like embarrassing at how poetic and like that's not really that's not really my persona. Like I'm like this cool guy, but then like if I wrote music, it's always like this really poetic, like it's sort of like how Captain Owl talks. Like it's just good. But anyway, point is, how I wrote this theme song is I took the 1989 The Batman theme song by Danny Elfman, which is one of my favorite music scores ever, and I actually took the same rhythm, so I had to get that sheet music, and then I copied note for note it into my software that writes sheet music, so I had a copy of the sheet music for the Batman theme that I could edit. And then from there, I saved the rhythm, but I reversed the melody. So the notes, like the notes I reversed, but I kept the rhythm. So what you get is this, so basically, I didn't reverse the notes for the whole song. I would go through each part. So, like for instance, this first, if you listen to it, it's just na 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 na. So that part, I just took that and I took that last note and made it the first note. The second to last note made that the second note. Third to last note made that the third note, and so I just sort of flipped everything, but I kept the rhythm the same, and it just made this song that sounds like really just off. Like it's just an off-putting. The chords don't line up correct. I'm sure I'm sure I thoroughly ruined all of the music theory that makes the Batman theme sound just so good. But I kept this like weird gothic. It's been critics have described it as like a horror movie, like a Frankenstein sort of soundtrack, which is just great. I didn't even mean to do that. Like I just wanted it to sound like a weird offshoot of the Batman theme, which it definitely does too. Because Captain Owl is sort of a weird offshoot of Batman, so it sort of worked. Although I rewatched Watchmen, and so in this he's sort of turning more into Rorschach. So that's why we have here.
Captain Owl's Journal, October 18th. Live in an imperfect world full of mistakes and regrets, where gold sinks and shit floats. If there ever was good content to be made, would it ever be dispensed, or would it all just get...
And then we go into the theme song there. So you see Captain Owl, I'm crouched down. And that's actually the guest bedroom. It's down the hall from me here, and I'm standing in the hallway in the door frame, crouched down, writing in my real journal. That's a real journal that I actually did write in. It's full. I completed that journal, but I just like the look of it for him, and it was small, so I'm like, oh, he could probably keep it like in his pocket or something when he's out fighting crime. So worked for him. So yeah, that is actually my real journal, but there's not as much vigilante stuff in there. And yeah, so I wrote that, and I'm actually very proud of that journal entry. I think that's good writing. I was pretty proud of that. The whole line about we live in a world where shit floats and gold sinks. I kind of like that, and that is true. And anyway, so I was thinking of Watchmen, how he does the journal stuff, and it was October 18th when I filmed this. It was very early morning. It was like, I think 1 in the morning, October 18th, when I did this. And yeah, probably 1 because I heard my dad walk around downstairs going to bed. So it was probably around 1:30. And anyway, so I filmed that, and I turned all the lights off except the light in the corner of the room. So you have sort of this light, so you have sort of this light where you can see it's coming here, like from this way, and I have the door open so that it was cutting the light because it was too hard of a light. I wanted a very soft light in the background. I also turned down the, I wanted it to be, I wanted the saturation up. I was really hoping you would be able to see some of the blue. If I had like some good lights, and again, I just film everything so quick. That is one of the things with this show is that I don't put a lot of time that maybe I should. Like I could make it so much better if I put a little bit more time into the planning. But like what I really would have liked was to have like a very, very soft light in front, almost like I'm sitting on like a rooftop light. And again, in a perfect world, I would be on a rooftop here. Like this would be Captain Owl on a rooftop writing this, but I'm in my house, so that's what you get. Like if I was filming this at Southern, I probably would be like on the roof of like one of the parking lots or something like that. But anyway, I wanted a light in front so you could see the outfit a bit more and not just the silhouette. I like the silhouette look, but I wanted you to be able to see that I am writing a journal, which you sort of do see here. I'm also confirming that Captain Owl is left-handed, which I did think about quite a bit. I was like, should he be left-handed or right-handed? And then I decided that actually Captain Owl writes his journal. Captain Owl as a character is right-handed, but he writes his journal with his left hand so that if his journal was ever found and they tried to do a handwriting test to see who Captain Owl really was, he could write with his dominant hand, his right hand, and pass the handwriting test, which is a pretty big theory as to what the Zodiac Killer did, who I think the Zodiac Killer was. I don't know his name, but it's some guy that literally every single piece of evidence they had about the Zodiac Killer, he fit. He fit motive, lack thereof motive. But anyway, what little motive they had, he fit. He had no alibi, like he could have been there when the killings happened. The timelines all made sense. He, was like this weird guy who was very off-putting, and when the detectives interviewed him, the detective who interviewed him was literally like, that's our guy, that's him. The only reason they threw him out as a suspect is because he failed the handwriting test, and the handwriting analysis said that there was 0% chance it could have been him. There's no similarities. And it turns out he was ambidextrous. And so people say that he wrote the Zodiac notes with his left hand and then his right hand normally. So that's what Captain Owl does with the journal, and I did think about that. And again, I want the point of this episode, and I don't really expect anyone to watch this whole thing. Maybe someone puts this on. It's going to be long, but I want to really just hammer in the fact that, because I was accused of being sort of thoughtless with my writing, like it was an oversight, like I didn't include context because I didn't think to add it. And I just want to prove, no, I think about everything. Every single detail you see on the screen, I have thought about. I have a thought about it. So, like I was saying, originally I wanted a light in front of him, and I was going to have an increase of saturation so you could really see the nice blue and brown, because it was bad. But I did, in editing, I was able to increase, because it actually wasn't this dark. I darkened it with the, in editing, but I wanted to increase it, But the issue was this blanket. That's the bed in the background, and that is an orange comforter on the edge of the bed, and I just couldn't. I really hated that. Even looking at this shot now, I really hate that comforter. And again, if I had put more time into it, if I had looked at the footage before moving on, I'm like Ed Wood. I just sort of what I call myself is the one take wonder. I do one take. I'm like, that's it. We're good. As long as the line was read, and I edit in real time. Real time editing, meaning like I imagine what it's going to sound like. If I like how it sounds, I like the delivery, we just move right on. I don't look at it, I don't test it. And you could probably tell, because that's why there's some times where like the mic was turned off or something like that, and I didn't notice because I didn't look at the playback. I just moved on. So it's one of those things where if I had looked at it, I probably would have said, oh, let me do a take where I take the blanket off so there's not this orange thing. Because the issue is I had to turn the saturation like all the way up, because it was dark, so you could see the blue, like his costume. And when I did that orange, I mean, it was just blasting out like this orange thing, and it's not clear, it's a blanket. So I thought it would take away. So I just went with darkening it and turning saturation down, actually, to go for this more of a silhouette look, which does look cool. He's got a cool silhouette, and you can still sort of see the white of the paper come through. And yeah. And now the intro. I'm not going to play the intro. I mean, do I need to? Do I need to go through the intro? You know what? I'm going to skip the intro because it's in every episode, and I'm really just trying to do this episode. But if you watched this and you liked this and you want me to do like this director's cut, like go through the intro segment and how I made the intro and my vision for the intro and everything and the different shots, just comment one thing, like just ask for it in the comments like that, and I'll include it in a future episode. But I am gonna skip through the intro. Okay, so now we're outside, and the theme is still playing in the background, softly, and which is what I wanted. To have this in the background, and while it's still like a serious Captain Owl moment, and then you'll notice the intro cuts immediately as soon as you see the first cartoon owl, because that's where it sort of breaks the, dark superhero noir aspect of it, and just turns into like a cartoon funny thing, which is always what Captain Owl was for me. It was like this dark, serious hero, and then like it would just be really funny randomly, like all of a sudden. Similar to like how Super Mega gets sometimes, like with their book, where it'll be like a serious thing going on, and then all of a sudden just something so slapstick happens that it's like juxtaposition is just insane. Like all of a sudden, like someone gets a pie thrown at them, and it's like, what? Like there was a gun being pulled a second ago, So anyway, that's sort of Captain Owl, like his like not theme, but like the feeling I always wanted for a Captain Owl story. So anyway, here I am with the trash. And now this is a reference to, I do the trash in the house. I'm in charge of taking the trash out to the street to get collected every week. And I forgot. Very embarrassing, and I take full blame, and I feel terrible because it's my job, and I take pride in doing it, and I don't think I forgot taking it out since high school, before that week. And the reason it happened is because I had to, I wait as late as I can. I'm typically the last person awake in the household, and I like waiting for everyone to be asleep so I know no more trash is going to be thrown out, and I take all the trash. It's like maxing, like I trash max, okay? I want to make sure all the trash has been thrown out, and then I will take the trash out, to really make sure we have a clean trash bin as long as possible. Now, what happened is, I do have a contingency, because what used to happen is I would fall asleep. Actually, no, I do remember the last time I forgot it, and I was in college. It was, I think, like winter break or something, and I remember I stayed up very, very late, and I actually fell asleep because I was like, I was watching a show, I think, and I was like, after this episode, I'll take the trash out, and I fell asleep during the episode, which I never do. I usually only fall asleep when I'm rewatching shows, So I totally came out of nowhere, and I did not think I was gonna fall asleep, and I did. And after that, this was in like 2022 or 2021 or something. I made an alarm on my phone that goes off every week, every Wednesday night, Thursday morning, whatever you want to call it, at 3 a.m. An alarm goes off, and it tells me to take the trash out. Okay, it's literally just called Trash Asshole. It tells me to take the trash out, and it is a alarm that will wake me up. It is a not all alarms can wake me up. In fact, most probably wouldn't. I have to have like specific alarms that I've trained myself to wake up from. And this is one of those. It will wake me up from sleep to go do the trash. And I have not missed it since I've had that alarm, and I have been woken up. Like, it has saved me, that alarm. But what happened is my job at the good gracious company of Target, I had to go in very early. They've sort of been killing me mentally by making me go in early. It's not who I am. I am not an early person. It has a debilitating effect on me having to wake up early and, go to sleep early. It's just like my brain, I'm a night owl. That's who I am. I can do it. I can go in early. I'm not going to make my availability not working in the morning. That's kind of some pussy shit. Okay, I don't do that. I'll do it because I like money, but it will break me down mentally over time. And yeah, so I had to go in. I have to wake up basically at 10:05 in the morning. So I'm asleep at 3, and I don't want to wake up to do the trash. So my goal was to do the trash earlier in the night before I went to sleep, and I forgot. And oh no, I'm sorry. Here's what happened. The week prior, I turned the alarm off because I'm like, I'm gonna do the trash early, at like 8 p.m. or whatever. Like, before I go to sleep, I'm gonna take the trash out, and I did. And I turned the alarm off because I was like, well, I don't have to wake up early. Like, I don't have to wake up at 3 in the morning to do the trash out because I already did it. So let me turn the alarm off so I don't wake up at 3, and I can sleep straight till 10:05. And then I kept having to remind myself, okay, but I have to turn the alarm back on before next week so that it's on. And I would always remember at times when I couldn't go on my phone, either my phone was dead or I didn't have my phone or I was at work, so I can't go on my phone. And I would always remember, oh, I got to turn the alarm back on, and then I wouldn't remember. And so here comes next week, Wednesday night, my alarm's turned off because I never remembered to turn it back on after having to wake up early. And sure enough, the screwed up part is I didn't have to wake up early. I could have gone out at 3 in the morning and done it. I was off that Thursday. And anyway, so I missed the trash that evening because my alarm was turned off, and that's what I rely on to have me go do it. And I forgot. And because of that, I do have another plan in now that I did change my availability just for Thursdays, so I will no longer have to work Thursday morning, which means I will no longer have to wake up early on Thursday morning, which means I will no longer turn the alarm off, so it'll always be on. And anyway, point is, for that week we had an overflowing trash, so it was sort of a reference to our household having too much trash because it never got taken out. So that's why in this, I'm holding a trash bag like, where am I going to put this trash? So that's that storyline. And my idea was, I guess, in the sake of this sketch, to just throw it behind the garage, which isn't a real solution because it's still on our property. If I was going to do that, it would be on Old Preston Avenue. That's where you would dump trash. And you hear me humming there. That is the King of the Hill theme. That theme, because in the intro to King of the Hill, he takes the trash out. So that's why. And I do typically, when I take the trash out, it's hard for me not to hum that theme because that's just what I think about, like picking up the trash, and I go to walk. It just plays in my head. Okay. Now where to dump this trash? Sup. And there's Captain Owl. you only see him for a split second there, so yeah, I'm not gonna be able to go back. But anyway, he says "sup" there, which is his catchphrase. And I don't think I've ever established that as his catchphrase. I'm really glad that I brought him here, and I'll say this here. I don't think I put it in the credits, but I did have the thought while I was doing this episode that I really am thankful for my mom actually for that owl house. I know I made a whole episode making fun of the owl house and extension her for getting the owl house and making me build it, but I am actually quite thankful because it did give me a good excuse to bring Captain Owl back, because my dad, he was writing these sketches for Captain Owl to do, and I had to keep telling him, Dad, I can't use Captain Owl. He's in New Haven. He's Southern Owl. It makes sense that he's in SCSU. He wouldn't be here. Like, it just doesn't make sense that he would be active somewhere other than Southern. The Owl House gave me a good excuse to bring him back, because I love Captain Owl as a character. And that's one of my biggest regrets from Southern, is not using him enough. I had plans for a full trilogy for a there was an idea to have a Captain Owl trilogy, and he really, the only movie he had was Infinity War, or sorry, was Infringity War, which isn't even, it's not like Captain Owl and it's SCSU TV Club Infringity War, and he's a character in it, but I wanted him to have his, that was like his Civil War, and then I wanted him to have Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. Like, I wanted him to have that. Like, I wanted him to, he debuts in Infringity War, and then from there on, I wanted him to, so I'm just thinking if that's where he started. I'm like, did I include him in Infringity War? Like, was that the first time I thought of him up? Like, oh, I think I thought of him, no, my idea for him, before I even was a student at Southern, before I was even started, like when I was accepted to Southern and I did orientation in the spring before my freshman year of college, they told us about this program that Southern had that I don't think they have anymore. They were called like the Night Owls, I think, and they were basically like a private security team made up of students. Like, it was a job that students could have. I think it was through the I don't know. Their office was in Wintergreen, so it was something like, it was, I want to say it was with why can't I think of it? Like the student, like the ambassador one, like the orientation, like whatever umbrella is in charge of that. Like, it was like something like that. Like, anyway, it was this team of like students that were night owls, that were up late, and it was basically like you could go on, they had like, I don't know if it was like a group meet chat or something, but you could basically request, it was for girls, I think, like, you could request to have someone walk you home at night, like if you were scared, because the campus is in New Haven. So like, if you were like, oh, I parked really far away, can I have someone walk me to my car, and or like walk me to my dorm, and you could call like this team of students that would come and just basically be like chaperones that would walk you to your thing. And I thought that that would be like, I had aspirations to join that team when I went in there, and it's really like cringy, and I didn't do it obviously, and I don't think I would have done it, but my idea was that I would show up as a vigilante, and that I was gonna dress like Captain Owl, and I would be like a vigilante, and that's where the idea for Captain Owl came from. And then I realized obviously that was stupid, and also it didn't exist by the time I got there. Like, I don't know what happened to that program, or if it ever existed at all, but it wasn't real when I got there. And anyway, I wanted to keep Captain Owl though, because I think I already had like the concept in my head. Like, I already had like, oh, what he would look like. Like, I had the costume wish listed on Amazon already, and like I knew what he would look like, and I was like, yeah, like I wanted to use him So then I put him in Infringity War, and it was he was like a bit that I had before Infringity War too. Like I would reference Captain Owl as like oh yeah, like he existed. I would be like, oh yeah, Captain Owl is a vigilante on Southern's vigilante. Like I made it like this thing like, oh, Southern had a vigilante, Captain Owl, and that's where it started. Before Infinity War, so he existed as like a bit I would do recurring, and I had the idea like I wanted to put him in a video at some point, and then when I did Infinity War, that just happened to be the first video he's in. And then I wrote the script, and before I finished Laundromat, that was by my dad's grading, the best script I had written, and that was one of the things that I think gave a lot of basically my dad and like me and the faith that I could actually be successful as a script writer because that script was so good. And that was before I had even taken the script writing class. So it was not formatted correctly. It was written like a play script because that's the only scripts I really knew was like play, like theater. So, but anyway, it was just such a good script, or a screenplay, I guess you'd call it, that, I really wanted, and I wrote that in 2019. I wrote Captain Owl, Black Market Bruising, and I wanted to do that, and I had been trying to make that happen. It was supposed to be, first it was fall of 2019, and then I went to Britain, so then I was like, oh, when I come back, and it worked well into the story, because the story implies that he had been gone for some time, and then Captain Owl came back, and had to stop the crime that was going on. So, I went to Britain, and then I took a leave of absence because of COVID, and so then it was fall of 2021, before I would have done anything with that film. But I always wanted to because I really liked that story that I wrote. And then I storyboarded it and everything. Like I had everything done. All I had to do was cast it and then film it. Like I had a film schedule. I even had the schedule done. I did all the pre-production necessary except casting, which I didn't put that off till last. I wanted to do that first, and then I just was like, well, this is taking so long. Let me do other stuff while I keep casting it. And I had so much trouble getting actors to be in this film, and it's one of those things that really pissed me off, and it's a good example of gold sinking, because I'm like, this would be such a good fucking story, and I'm swearing now because I liked it so much, and it was such a good script. And I'm like, if I made that in 2021, it would have been like the best thing on my channel. Like I would probably still be playing that because it was that good. Like it would hold up, I think, through me becoming a film major. Like I wrote that before I was even a film major. I wrote that as a history major when I wanted to be a history teacher, and I was gonna make that. And I think that would have, like, the editing wouldn't have been as good, and like the, whatever, the effects and stuff like that wouldn't have been as good. But like I think it would have held up to like time crunch and business as usual, and so, like, it would have been so good. And I'm also disappointed. Well, I guess there's the specials, but the specials is a little different. But what I was gonna say is because then I would have a good superhero film, because I don't really have a good superhero film. Like Infinity War is bad, sort of on purpose, like, but not really. That was what I was able to do at that time in 2018. Or 2019. That's what I was able to do. Spring of 2019. Captain Owl was fall of 2019. Yeah. So anyway, point is, I had that was going to be his first standalone film, and then I had a sequel with Spencer Lane, because then I met Spencer Lane, and Spencer Lane was going to play the sidekick, and he was going to be in episode or in the second Captain Owl movie, which I didn't have a name for, but it was going to be something about it was something about Captain. It would have been like Captain Owl leaving the nest, or Captain Owl flight test, or something like that, and it would have been about him training Spencer Lane as his sidekick, like a Robin type character. And it would have been so good, like if the timeline had worked out originally. Captain Owl Black Market Bruising was 2020, fall 2021. Captain Owl Take Flight or whatever, Leaving the Nest, fall 2022 would have been perfect because then it would have been like me training Spencer Lane how to be funny. Because when I met him, he had a good sense of humor, but he wasn't that funny. I kind of showed him, like, this is how you tell a joke. I had explained to him the concept of like a setup and a punchline. Like, he didn't know. He had good instincts, but like he didn't, so it would have been good. Like, it just would have been very poetic. Like, at the same time I'm showing Spencer Lane how to do all that, the character Captain Owl is teaching his sidekick how to be a good hero, and it would have been like a good Batman and Robin type story, but Captain Owl, and I don't know. I was gonna let Spencer Lane make his character, like what he wanted to be named and stuff, and then that was gonna be that, and then the third one was gonna be my senior year. This is back when I thought I could graduate on time, so then it was gonna be like the 2024, probably fall. It'd be 2 years later. It would be, and then I had planned to maybe keep him going on, because then I had the early show, and I was like, well, maybe I'll put Captain Owl in a sketch or two in between while I'm writing the third movie. And the third movie was going to come out my senior year, which again I thought was going to be 2024, and I was going to do what's it called? It was going to be like Dark Knight Rises, sort of, where it's going to be like his retirement. It was going to be Captain Owl leaving. It was going to be about how he made Southern too safe and there was really not a lot of crime left, and it was going to be about him, sort of like a Public Enemy #1 thing where he gets in trouble for beating someone too much, and then it was going to be like a whole conspiracy thing where like the criminal he beats up, like, purposely, like, it was gonna be something where they like they did like a false flag where they made it look like Captain Owl like did some really brutal attack, and like the guy ended up being innocent or something like that, and like totally framed him as like this terrible guy. And then Captain Owl is like, maybe it's time I leave, maybe I should stop being Captain Owl. And it was going to be an end, which works well because then it would close and I wouldn't have to worry about, well, how can I keep being Captain Owl? I'm not at Southern anymore. And it would have worked well because he would have retired. So I would have been able to just retire the character naturally and not have this open-ended thing. And oh my god, I talked way too long about Captain Owl, but clearly, like, I like this guy, okay? That's the whole point. And anyway, all I'm trying to say here is that way back then I established that his catchphrase is sup, and that's what he says. He hides in the dark, and then he, like, watches the crime happen, so he knows, like, they're committing crime. When as soon as he's like, okay, they are committing crime, and I'm gonna go beat them up now, because he's careful. He doesn't, assume anything. He doesn't beat people up. He only attacks after they've committed a crime, so he can be sure that they were going to commit a crime, because this isn't Psychopaths. And I do believe that just because someone had intent to do something, that until they've actually done it, you can't say that they were going to do it, because things happen, and maybe right in the moment they would have had a change of heart and done the right thing. But Captain Owl is like, no, I need to be sure that they went through and did the crime, and then he beats them up mercilessly, because they're criminals, and they made the choice to be criminals because they had the chance not to, and they still chose to do it. And you shouldn't not do crime because you don't want to get beat up. You should not do crime because you don't want to be a criminal. Anyway, he stands in the dark heroically, like posed, whatever. And then he says sup to announce his presence. And then the criminals get spooked and look at him, and that's when he surprises them. And in City of Heroes, I made Captain Owl, and his battle cry, which is like this thing no one ever uses, but it's basically like you can have a catchphrase in City of Heroes and just say it like in the chat automatically. It's just like a catchphrase that's set to a keybind that, we'll just put it in chat. So that's why it's weird, because to the rest of the game, like, it doesn't do anything to show it's your battle cry. I kind of wish it labeled it as your battle cry in chat, because to everyone else it looks like you just said that. Like, like if I said sup, everyone in chat is just gonna be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Like they're gonna think I'm trying to talk to them. I'm like, "No, no, no. It's Captain Owl's battle cry. It's just what he, says before he fights crime." So anyway, that's sup. He says sup for the first time on film here. So that's sort of a big moment for him.
You're still living here?
You're Still Living Here. That's a reference to a few episodes ago where he actually, is this the full thing? Let's see, which one is it? It is here, episode 25, 10 episodes prior. Is the first time we show Captain Owl that he is living in the Owl House, which is right there, which I built. And that's the joke, is that I was making fun of my mom a little bit because she got this owl house thinking it was going to, like, owls are going to live there. We don't have owls in our area. We just don't. We don't have owls living in our neighborhood. Like, we just don't. So it's like the idea that you put an owl house up and they will, like, spawn in, it's just funny to me. And then, of course, so then the joke is that, well, what if they actually did spawn in and, like, I have the egg on my face because I'm like, Mom, if you put an owl house up, they're not just gonna, like, owls aren't just gonna show up. But what if they did? What if owls did just show up because the owl house is there and it's like a weird lighthouse thing? So, yeah, so that's what happened here. And you can see Captain Owl shows up, and he is still living in the thing.
Yeah, I'm the only one that keeps this backyard from turning into a lawless wasteland.
And that's just sort of how he talks.
Is that right?
And you can hear the music. If you, again, just don't listen to the notes, but it is the same rhythm, because here it's the part where it goes so it's that part of the song just with the notes reversed. Anyway, the other sort of joke here is that he's cracking down on litter, which was always sort of the thing with Captain Owl that that was always the joke with him, which is present in Black Market Bruising, is that there actually isn't that much crime on Southern's campus. They do a pretty good job. They do have a private police force on the campus that's a subsect of the New Haven Police Department. So they do actually do a pretty good job of keeping it safe. So it's like left with that, all he has left is to, like, crack down on litter and, like, jaywalking and, like, little tiny misdemeanors, like minuscule things like that. So that's always sort of been like a Captain Owl joke, is like that's what he, that's the crime he's fighting, is like litter and things like that.
Yeah. So, what were we doing with that bag of garbage? Oh, the trash. No, yeah, so I actually, what happened is I heard a noise.
And this is a joke here. I heard a noise. Well, let me have him finish the line.
And I came here to investigate the noise. I was going to throw the trash in.
Okay, so that whole thing about investigating the noise, there's two little references there, and both are just directly tied to my family. The funny one, the funniest one is just that that's sort of code for if you're gonna go pee outside. Like if we're outside at an event somewhere, and as men do occasionally, we do pee outside. Sometimes, we'd say, oh, I'm gonna go investigate the noise over there, and then you go pee. And that's just sort of like, don't follow him, he's gonna go pee. So that's sort of the code. I was investigating the noise. The other thing is, when I was a kid, my dad always trained me that if you hear a noise, don't investigate it. Let the noise come to you, because that's just, like, safer. That's just good. That's just a safety tip. You want to let the noise come to you because, you're in a environment that and then it sort of lets you, the entity making the noise is going to be in a new environment that they're not accustomed to. So it gives you a bonus. So that was sort of something growing up. My dad would always say, never investigate the noise. Yeah. So anyway, there we go. That's sort of what I was referencing there. And of course I am investigating the noise, but the thing is, it's part of my lie. I was going to litter. That's my character here. I was going to throw the trash there. So, I'm lying because obviously I would never investigate the noise. I also don't like peeing outside, so I really wouldn't investigate the noise.
In the overflowing bins on the side of the
Overflowing
house.
trash.
You don't have to worry. I wasn't really gonna litter, although I did think about it.
Okay, now that line there. If you didn't know this is a reference. And now I have to do a little bit more editing than I was hoping for this episode. Just because it's going to be so long. I don't want to... It'd take me way too long if I have to edit that much. But anyway, in this episode, the first comic book one here, episode 30, I remember that line where the mayor is on the rooftop and he tells Batman, don't worry, I wasn't really gonna kill myself, though I did think about it, and that was a very funny line to me. So I put it in here, where I say, don't worry, I wasn't really gonna litter, although I did think about it. So that's what I was referencing. If you didn't catch that, there you go. That's Easter egg.
Well, that's good, because oh, hey, Professor Owl.
All right, so this is Professor Owl here. The first owl emerges from the owl house, and Professor Owl is I think I believe Disney character. I don't know, actually. I'm not actually that familiar with these owls. I literally just Google searched cartoon owls and, got these. Although some were written, like I said, the idea did come from my dad. He wrote this idea to have cartoon owls coming out of the house, and he gave examples of he gave the example of Mr. Owl, who shows up later, and Woodsy Owl, and I think that's all he says on the card. Those were the only two owl examples that he gave. I remember hearing Professor Owl, but I didn't know who he was, and then I looked it up, and it's this guy here, this blue one, and he actually is apparently... From my understanding, he has something to do with music. I think he would teach kids about music. He was like a conductor. But she is dressed as a conductor here, and he has a baton. So I think he is a conductor. And he's Professor Owl from Disney or something. And anyway, so that's the first one. And Captain Owl asks him...
how do you think the song came out? I'll catch you when you get back.
Okay, so... How do you think the song came out? Because he's like a music conductor, and that's Captain Owl is asking him about the Captain Owl theme, which has just been cut off, as I said earlier, when the cartoon shows up, because it's not really that serious anymore. Anyway, so how did the song come out? I think it actually came out perfect. It's exactly what I wanted it to sound like. I love the sound of that organ. It's pretty much perfect, honestly. It's the perfect Captain Owl theme. I wish I could write an original music piece and I didn't have to just play the Batman theme backwards, but also I kind of like that I played the Batman theme backwards, so it's perfect.
Well, was that Professor Owl? I hope so. Why, they changed things about?
So that's just a joke that I ask him, is that Professor Owl? Or was that Professor Owl, which, again, I've now said the name twice, so someone watching, again, I thought that was easy enough for them to know that it was Professor Owl. I thought saying the name of the character twice would be all the information an audience person would need to know it's Professor Owl, but, anyway, some people didn't know it was Professor Owl. I'm just saying the name was said twice. I here say... Was that Professor Owl? Because I'm in shock that a cartoon owl just came out of the owl house, and Captain Owl's instinct, hearing that I'm unsure if that was Professor Owl to Captain Owl, he's so in his own world that, he can't understand that someone might be confused about a cartoon owl existing, because in his world, that's just normal. So he assumes that I'm confused because I think that might be a changeling. And so Captain Owl goes into a fight stance here. I guess I skipped the fight stance. He goes into a fight stance, like he's going to go fight a changeling. And then we see Woodsy Owl show up.
Hey, Woodsy.
Yeah, Woodsy Owl is very quick. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So he flies across back in there. And actually, I didn't plan on him being fast. The only reason he's so fast, because that was another thing people said, he was only on screen very short, and it's true, but it's my fault, because when I was filming this as Captain Owl, I had to go with how fast I move my head, because I track, if you pay attention, I did a good job tracking the flight of the owl to Captain Owl actually moving his head, So I just happened when I filmed this, I guess I moved my head too quick. I meant to do it slow enough because I was thinking about that. Again, this is another example of live editing. I'm thinking about how fast I move my head is how fast the owls are going to go. And I thought I moved it slow enough, but a lot of times on film, whatever, when you're acting, you tend to do things faster more often than slower. I think it's nerves. I think your anxiety just tends to make you go faster. Yeah, I turned my head too quick, which caused Woodsy to apparently fly very quickly into the owl house. And Woodsy Owl is I think it's tied to the national parks service from the American government, and he is like a cartoon owl, and they also had like some live action costumed versions of him where he basically is just in charge of stopping you from littering and keeping the parks clean. That's sort of his deal. So that's why Captain Owl says
No one's littering around here, don't worry.
yeah, the comment about no one littering, which of course Captain Owl is nervous because he thinks Woodsy Owl is going to see me standing there with a trash bag and get all concerned that I'm going to litter, which I was going to do, but Captain Owl is stopping me. So he's letting Woodsy Owl know no one's going to litter, don't worry, like he's going to stop it.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a really risky question here. How many cartoon owls are currently living in that house? I don't know. I think all of them. I sort of lost count. Hey, Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take for you to get the rent?
All right, Mr. Owl from the 60-year-old not Dum Pop oh my god, they literally say it, Tootsie Pop commercial where Mr. Owl the boy asks Mr. Owl how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop, and then he licks 1, 2, 3, and then just eats the whole thing because it's too delicious. He can't take his time to count how many licks it takes. Although I believe there was a prostitute who had like an Instagram, and she did lick the candy off of a Tootsie Pop to get to the center, but I forget how many she said it. It was like 130 something. I want to say it was like 137 or something like that. But anyway, so yeah, and then my joke, Captain Owl says, how many licks is it going to take for you to get the rent? Which is sort of a dirty joke implying that Mr. Owl is sucking guys off under the bridge, $10 a man, to get the rent. So how many licks is it going to take for Mr. Owl to get the rent? That's what I meant by that joke. That's what that joke is. Yeah, what I just said there, which now I'm doing a director's cut of this episode of what I'm saying. Sucking guys off $10 a man under a bridge is Adam Egget, Norm Macdonald's sidekick on Norm Live. That's what he did before getting the job of Norm, I believe he did hand jobs though. He would jerk guys off under the bridge in New York for $10 a man.
Damn cheapskate.
Damn cheapskate.
You're charging them rent?
Mr. Owl.
That's not really how birdhouses work. Oh, and what would you know about birdhouses? Well, I built that one.
That's reference to episode 25, where I build the owl house.
Big man builds one birdhouse, thinks he's a genius.
And this is where the episode really just this is, I think, my favorite part about this. I mean, the concept of cartoon owls living there and Captain Owl being like weirdly in charge of them is funny. Having Spencer Lane show up, that's just good. That's good. And that's my dad's idea. That was on the index card. It said Spencer Lane shows up eating a bag of chips, which is a reference to Owl That and a Bag of Chips, which was Spencer's talk show he had at TV Club, Owl That and a Bag of Chips, where it's a continuation of Owl That, which was a show TV Club did in... we did do an episode in 2019, but that was, I think, the last one they did. And it was like a version of All That, which was a Nickelodeon show in like the late 90s, I want to say, early 2000s, late 90s, where it was like a very casual talk show where they would just get like, celebrities on, and it was a very casual talk show. It wasn't like behind a desk. They weren't in suits. They were just sort of chilling around. They would do fun little segments and stuff like that. So TV Club did that, but they did Owl That because we're the Owls, of course. And we sort of stopped doing it. And when I was programming director, I really wanted to bring it back because I like Owl That. And I feel like we should have the news show and we should have Owl That. And those two things should always be constants, and Scuff. Those should be like the three things TV Club always does. There should always be a news show, there should always be Owl That, and there should always be Scuff. Those are like if I was general manager, I would like put that in like the bylaws or something for the club. Like those should be the priorities. News show, which we have to have, by the way, to maintain our media club status. I'm not there anymore, but you know, I'm TV Club for life. TV Club for life, man. TV Club for life. But yeah, news show is I think important, and then and good experience. And then Owl That I think is equally, actually, I think it is. I think it's equally as important because you need the news show, but I always felt like the news show was too rigid. I mean, for me, it definitely was because I have no interest in doing anything that polished, you know, ever. In live broadcasting, which I don't even want to go into live broadcasting, but if I did, like, I would hate to do like a news show like that. I would always want to do something at least like a talk show, at least. Like, I would hate to do like news broadcast. I just find it so boring, and like you just like it's good at owning a skill because you can really get some good practice, and it's always, you know, sort of consistent, like, you know, what you're doing. But it just gets boring to me, and it's too rigid, and there's not it's not enough fun. You don't get to have enough fun, and I would always try to make the news show fun, which they didn't really like. They didn't really like how fun I would make the news show sometimes, but I did like making the news show fun. And anyway, so you need to have Owl That, I think, to give club members experience doing both. They should be able to get good experience doing a live broadcast, which is very good for, like, you know, getting a job at ESPN or something, but then give them Owl That so that they have experience having to do things on the fly, and it's a lot more improvised. I mean, there's no script for Owl That. They would have talking points, so it's a lot different. It's a lot harder to you know, like, you can't storyboard an Owl That episode. You have to live edit. You have to, like, when you direct Owl That, you have to live edit it with, you know, what shot you want to have, who's talking. Oh, we got to jump over there. They said something. Like, it's just a good experience that we should be doing that always. And we didn't do it. We stopped. Like, the last episode, I think, was 2019. I mean, they might have done an episode while I was on my leave of absence, but I always wanted it to come back. So when I was programming director and I started Early Show, which was my thing, you know, that was my talk show. I wanted to do a late night talk show, and then I really wanted Spencer. You know, Spencer, I forget the history, and he could make his own. He could make his own hour-long video breaking down Owl That and Bag of Chips. So I forget the origins exactly. I know I brought it up to him, like he knew I wanted it to come back, but I don't think I told him, like, oh, you should host it. I might have told him, but I'm not certain whether I told him he should host it or whether he was like, I want to do a show, and I was like, oh, you should do Owl That. And then I, somewhere along the lines of talking about him having a show, I know he always, because he's Larry David, so he was like, I don't want it to be some, you know, sit down, like, I want it to be a very casual, and, like, you know, he didn't really want to do it, at least he didn't want to do it like the news show. Like, he wanted it to be very casual. He wanted it to be very, you know, no holds barred, just sort of lounging around, talking, and nothing planned. And we just somehow, we got the idea that it would be very funny if he was eating a bag of chips, and we called it Owl That and a Bag of Chips. And it would just be funny if he was eating chips while he had a guest there, and he didn't offer the guest chips. he didn't consider not eating into the mic, and he just, which is annoying as a viewer, or some people get annoyed. I just think it's hilarious. Some people get annoyed by like hearing the crunching sounds, and I'm like, it would just be so funny if he's such, like, he's playing this character that's like this terrible host that just sits there, is rude to the guests, is eating chips, like one of the worst things to eat while mic'd, and like extra crunchy. Like, we would try to get baked. Like, I think we had baked chips a few times, and it's just perfect. I loved it. So he comes out here with his bag of chips. And the other thing is, it always matches his shirt. Well, except the last episode, but I'm not gonna. He gets a little self-conscious. Gets a little self-conscious about his show. So I don't want to, get into it. But usually the chips would match his outfit. So I asked him when he was gonna come here to film this. I said, "What color shirt are you wearing?" He said black. So I got black chips for him, which were barbecue Doritos. I had these other chips that I think would have worked better because it's black bag with it was like more of a tan yellow colors, which would have went better with his shirt because it was the first chips I had were these like basil. They were like garlic parmesan or like basil, like those like healthy chips. You've seen them, like the triangle, like they're like the healthy ones. They're in a black bag. And then I saw the barbecue Lay's, and I was like, barbecue Doritos, and I was like, well, wait, hold on, is it Lay's or? No, barbecue Lay's are like red, right? They're like a maroon bag, aren't they? Yeah. So it is Doritos. Barbecue Doritos. Because I was like, wait, I'm really self-conscious. Is it Lay's?
Oh, hey, Spence.
What? Spencer Lane? You're not even an owl.
Doritos. Okay, it is. Whew. Okay. I thought so. I thought it was Doritos. Let the record show, I thought it was Doritos. I put barbecue Lay's in my head, and it got me second-guessing myself. He has barbecue barbecue Doritos, which I thought he would like better. So I got those for him. But anyway, they were also like $2 cheaper. So that did sort of go into it. Anyway, I wanted to go back there. First sort of reference is calling someone by their full name, which is sort of goes back to like this whole thing with him showing up out of nowhere. It was reminding me a lot of Family Guy. So it's like, because I just feel like there's like this meme where Peter, like someone walks into the Family Guy household and they're like, "Hello, Peter," and Peter Griffin would say their full name, and like they're a celebrity basically. Well, Spencer Lane, he is a celebrity to me. And so yeah, that's why I see him and I'm like, Spencer Lane, as if we're not friends, like I call him his full name. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I should have mentioned it earlier in this, is the lighting here. The lighting which is exactly sort of what I wanted. I wanted it to be very dark, and then you only see like a small light, because if you notice,
Well, I'm a southern owl.
oh yeah, I say you're not an owl, and then he's a southern owl, which is sort of the joke, which I think my dad intended on making when he had Spencer show up. I think on the index card it said because he's a southern owl, he gets to show up. I don't think I wrote that. I think that was on the index card. I think my dad wrote that. Eating chips. Alumni. Oh man, that delivery is so good. I love that. I'm a southern owl crunch alumni. Like, oh man, Spencer's thing with the chips. I don't say this about a lot of stuff he does just because I'm like Dr. Doom. I'm so arrogant. And full disclosure, I am a little mean to him. But genuinely, and I think I have a healthy dose of arrogance, because you need to be this arrogant to be a movie star like I want to be. Like, you need to have this much confidence. So I would just say, to me as a critic, and I think it makes sense, me as a critic, there's not much that I think Spencer could do better than me, like of my own shticks, you know what I mean? Like I think I can do my jokes, my shticks better than anyone else. But What I will say, which that was like a very mean way to do this. Like this is now a full backhanded compliment, which is not what I meant. So I'm sorry because he'll probably be the only one to watch this whole thing. I don't think I could do the bag of chips thing better than him, and I'll say that right now. And this is gonna show up in what's it called? Wired. Like it's gonna be like one of those like articles, like whenever Ryan Reynolds says something, and then it's like a whole thing, like, oh, Spencer Trella says, yeah. So I don't think I could do the chips thing as good as he does it. Like I think it's hilarious, the chips, like his timing with them, and I think it's a mix of him legitimately eating the chips, and then also like because sometimes he'll eat a chip and it's like so natural. It's like, oh, he's just actually eating them. And then he also will time it somehow so it is so organic. Like it's not like he is like, eats a chip and then he's like, gets another one to make the timing be funny. He like just somehow gets it perfectly to maximize the punchline of the crunch. It's just perfect. And seriously, I don't think I don't know who else could do the chip thing better than him. Maybe like Eric Andre is like that's probably his adversary. That's probably his competition for that bit is like Eric Andre might have that skill of annoying chip eating. Like I don't know who else could do it like as good as him. So I was so happy to have that in my show because I think it's one of his funniest bits that he's done. And I might be All That and a Bag of Chips biggest fan. I might be the biggest fan of that show. I loved that show so much, and I would constantly have to convince him that it was really funny and that he should keep making it. So yeah. Anyway. But yeah, so you can see here, I'm holding a flashlight. So that's where the lighting comes from. That you see on Captain Owl and Spencer, and you can actually see it's dark. Captain Owl's in the dark at first, and then I turn and put the light on him, and same thing as Spencer. When he walks into frame, he's in the dark, and then I go Spencer Lane, and I move the flashlight, and then he has the light on him, and then it's implied that as each of them are talking, I'm going back and forth like this with the light, and that's why there's always light on them. And then that's why I'm sort of in the dark here, because no one's holding a flashlight on me. And you can see here, that is, like, in my head, in the canon, that's supposed to be like a night light, like one of those night lights that are there, in like a garden light that's shining my face. In reality, that's like an industrial construction light that my dad had in his workshop, which is actually what I'm using to light Spencer and Captain Owl. I'm not actually using the flashlight to light them because the light's too blue and it's too hard of a light. I think that's what that means, right? Like a hard light is like you can see the circle of light, on the thing, where a soft light, I believe, is like a more disperse. It's not like it doesn't look like it's a flashlight beam on them. It's like there's just some light, and that's sort of what I wanted. And also that one is easier to prop up on the ground because it has a little stand, where that I would have to get something to hold it up at the right angle, hope it doesn't fall over.
And you're living here? Well, yeah. We knocked down one of the walls trying to go for this open concept thing.
So the open concept I mentioned in episode 25 as well. I don't know where I got that open concept joke from. I think South Park. I think there's a South Park episode where they make fun of HGTV because in every single HGTV show where they like renovate houses, they always make jokes about breaking a wall down and going for an open concept. And I think South Park did an episode where like Randy, like all the parents decide to become home like flippers because it was like, oh, everyone's flipping houses these days. And it's like the number one thing they always do is knock a wall down to go for an open concept. So that's a joke that I've been doing that since I binged South Park in like 2018. Earlier than that, I think 2015. 2015 is when I binge watched all of South Park. Again, the chips.
It's actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
Aside from all the owl shit.
Again, his delivery on that line I laughed out loud. I'm really serious right now, so that's why I'm not laughing. I have yet to watch this episode without laughing out loud at his delivery of except for all the owl shit. Which yeah, that was the first take. Rare time I did do a second take with this because I wanted to make sure I had the audio because I wasn't sure in the audio, so I did have him do a second take. I ended up going to the first one because it sounded good, and I just the way he says that is just so funny.
Okay, whatever. I'm gonna go put this in the bin.
Music comes back because the Captain Owl is being serious again.
And once again, the night is safe.
And that's just a joke because, you know, like the knight was never in danger. Like, it's funny that he sees me littering as like a, you know, putting the whole thing in danger here. So, yeah. And this is actually unchanged. That part of the theme, the very ending of it, dun 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 dun, that is actually unchanged because if you think about it, like if I flip it backwards, it's the same notes. It's just a repeated note. Dun 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 dun. Like I guess I could have gone dun 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 dun, but I decided to keep it the same way as like a little Easter egg of its own right, just to end on the same note. Because at the end of the day, Captain Owl and Batman are ending on the same note.
Shit floats. Give me a break.
And this is a reference to, since I created Captain Owl, my persona in these films has always been like, I am against Captain Owl because I take a stance, I take an anti-vigilante stance saying that it's just going to cause copycats and that it actually just, because of the challenge effect that superheroes do, which Vision points out in Age of Ultron, that, you know, it actually makes it more dangerous because people see Captain Owl and criminals will become criminals and start crime just to elicit attention from Captain Owl. So anyway, I always take an anti-vigilante, anti-Captain Owl stance, so that's here where I'm reading his journal and making fun of it. And that is my iconic red hoodie, which I meant to mention in the other scene. Oh, I also wanted to talk about my outfit. I'm wearing the PewDiePie 100 million subs shirt, and I'm wearing my iconic red hoodie, as Spencer calls it. I've had that hoodie since, I want to say, 2013, 2012. I got it in 8th grade. I got it, so like 2013. I got it in 8th grade from... I really wish I could remember the name of the store. It's a comic book store chain. The one I got it from was in Quincy Market, the one in Quincy Market. I forget the name of the store. All I can think of is Midtown Comics, but that's in Midtown in New York, where I go to whenever I go to New York. Yeah, I can't think of that store, that comic book store. But anyway, I got it there. And now I will say that is not the original suit. That is not the original hoodie. In 2018 or 2019, I think in 2019, I got a new larger version. Not because I always wanted a larger version. I always wanted an XL. They didn't have XL, so I had to get L. And it was always a little small because I like my hoodies to be big. I like the sleeves to hang off my hands a little bit, and I like it to be a little bit bigger. So I can float in it a little bit. And especially for the hood. I like the hood to come down like to my eyebrows. I want the hood to be able to go to my eyebrows, which the red hoodie never got. It was always like at the top of my forehead. But anyway, so I got a new hoodie because the dumb dog, we had just gotten the dumb dog. Okay, so it was 2018 because the dumb dog was a stupid dumb puppy and he ran through a ton of mud and shit. I'm not kidding. He had taken a dog shit in the mud and he ran through mud and shit and then jumped all on my hoodie and stained the iconic red hoodie. The first one, which you can imagine how important the first one was. He stained that hoodie with dirt and mud and shit, and that is why I had to get a new one. So it's the dog's fault, but that is the hoodie. I'm also wearing a Batman shirt there, which I just thought was funny that with Captain Owl, I wear a Batman shirt in this end part. Only in the end, though, not in the actual one. I wore Peter Pie, because this was actually filmed a day later than that other stuff. I filmed this on the Sunday.
I'm assuming if you're here...
Or no, I filmed this on Friday. I filmed this Friday night. I filmed everything else on Thursday.
I didn't film anything, so I don't... I'm just gonna end it, because I'm assuming an episode happened, and you're here expecting me to...
Wait.
Say,
Wait, he's gonna say it, so does that mean...
Like always, thank you for watching. I'm Spencer Trella, and this has been...
No, that doesn't...
Attention viewer, you have the chance to win your very own iconic content dispenser t-shirt. That's right, Spencer is getting rid of over half of his iconic shirts seen worn throughout his epic content, and now the opportunity to wear them is yours. Simply email your name and address to the email below for a chance to have a random one of these shirts sent to you. That's your name and home mailing address to estrella55555@gmail.com. One more time, your name and full mailing address to estrella55555@gmail.com. While supplies last, no choice guaranteed. Sizes vary from medium to extra large. Shirts may contain stains. All shirts have been washed prior to shipment. Odds of winning 1 in 300. Offer not legally binding. Spencer maintains the right to reclaim the shirt at a later date with no notice given. Email to get your very own shirt today.